first thought, submit spirit to form matter. Our celestial humanity arrives, awakening in a dream, an inception of our reality. So we live, we love, and then there is music. So we dance, we sing, we praise, we reflect. In the infinite in between, the now that was, faces dance in our dreams. Some familiar, some a distant of cosmic composition. In the irrelevance of this time, we realize the passion of the random action, learning the lesson that the brotherhood of man is far more important than the ego of any individual. Imagination becomes the sound of thought, traveling at the speed of light. So we paint on the canvas of our ephemeral encounters, a masterpiece of memory that lives in the eternity of a child.
Ascended Visions Radio. Ascended Visions Radio.
Ascended Visions Radio.
Okie dokie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Okay. How are you?
Okay. Yeah, so we could do this right now, and I'll be greatly honored.
All right. Okay, I'm up for it.
Okay. All right.
I'm up for it.
Just a second here. Let me get situated. All right. Okay. All right. Mama Aneb, Dr. Mama Dr. Aneb. Walk us down the halls where Gloria House, Dr. Gloria House, and Mama Aneb Kgositsile have traveled up to the present day.
All right.
And just tell us briefly, or as long as you would like, however long you would like, briefly tell us, I guess you could say the most, to you, the most interesting points of your evolution, as they would say.
Okay. Starting out with a big question here. Well, why don't I start at the beginning and then talk about some of the things that have really influenced me, have had big influences, okay? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was born in Tampa, Florida. Gloria and Larry, my father's family name. My family name is Larry, Larry. My mom was a Tampa girl, Tampa, Florida, city girl. My father was from a little town called Brooksville, Florida. He grew up in that town, which is primarily agricultural, citrus crops, that sort of thing. So, but they met somehow and married. Marriage did not work. My mother ended up marrying a young man who ended up being an Air Force career person. And it was his name was Leroy Johnson. He and my mom raised me. And we followed, my mom and I followed him everywhere he was assigned throughout the United States. And then he also was assigned in England and in Bermuda. So we lived in those places. And in this country, we lived, of course, in Tampa, Florida, where I was born, and in Salina, Kansas, Springfield, Massachusetts, and in Sacramento, California. Those are all the cities that we lived, following him from one post to another. And so I grew up very much involved in traveling and learning about new cultures. I think probably the most influential place in my development was Bermuda, because we were there for 3 years when I was an adolescent, like 11, 12, 13 years old. And the island is such a beautiful place. And the community that Black people in that island share is such a beautiful community. And I was very much influenced by that. The freedom that the children had to move around the island, to go and play in the ocean. It was just a very important part of my childhood. So, if I had to say, what were some of the most important influences? Bermuda, those 3 years in Bermuda certainly were very important. The next big thing for me in terms of development was going to study at the University of California, Berkeley. There I, could meet brothers and sisters from the African continent. At the time I was at Berkeley, there were actually more brothers and sisters from the continent, I think, than there were of us African Americans who had gotten into Berkeley. So it was wonderful to be able to be in touch with the diasporan brothers and sisters, and that was a very important experience. Another important experience was after I graduated, after my bachelor's degree, I went to France for a year. And there I met other brothers. Not many sisters were there from the African continent, but I met brothers who were studying, brothers from Africa who were studying, and learned about the struggles for national liberation that were going on in their home countries. That was another important influence, to be able to identify with their struggles and to begin to see myself as part of the African world, the African diaspora, not simply someone rooted in the United States, but to begin to understand just how big the African world is, and how beautiful African culture, how beautiful the culture is, and how no matter what our particular nationality might be as Africans, there were certain essential unifying ways of being that really gave us unity, or permitted us to feel the unity and feel the kinship. So that was an important experience. Then after when I was a graduate student at UC Berkeley, I participated in a political event called the Free Speech Movement. It was an action in which students at that campus decided that we were going to support the struggles that were going on in the South, the Southern civil rights struggles. Some students who had gone down south in the summer of '64, I think it was, to help register voters, came back to the Berkeley campus and started setting up fundraising tables right there on the campus, raising money to send to the South. And the university decided that they were not going to permit students to do that. And they tried to shut that action down. And students then resisted, created a strike, shut down the university, got the support of major trade unions like the Teamsters, who wouldn't deliver things in support of the student strike. And we won that strike. We won the right to support the Southern movement. And we also won a place for students on the Board of Governors of the United States, of the university. And we also organized a union for teaching assistants on that campus. So that was a struggle that was very important. It taught me that if you organize, if you're disciplined, if you're determined, you can have some victories, right? Mm-hmm. And then after that struggle, I was looking for a way to actually become involved in the Southern movement. And I found out in the summer of '65, I found out that there was a group of students from San Francisco State College, right across the bay, who were planning to collect books and go down to Selma and set up a freedom school. And I said, oh, this is the opportunity I've been looking for to actually go south and be involved in some way in the civil rights movement. So I went there, got involved with SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, ended up spending 2.5 years in Alabama working to organize the Lowndes County Freedom Organization, which was an independent political party. Its logo was a Black Panther. That Black Panther logo was then accepted, greeted warmly, and made to be the logo of the Black Panther Party that originated in California. So that's how that particular logo, which was drawn by a SNCC worker in Atlanta, came to be the logo of the Black Panther Party. But it was first the logo of the independent Lowndes County Freedom Organization Party in Alabama. So, Bilal, those are some of the important moments, influential moments, I would say, in my development as a freedom worker. I like to think of it as being a freedom worker.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. That's amazing, and I'm honored that you shared this with me. I'm learning myself. I know a lot of people already know a lot of this stuff, but I always learn stuff in due time that I'm ready, And also sharing this will share it with a lot of people that may not know. So having said that, how has activism enhanced your view as a writer over the years?
Well, almost all of my poetry is directly related and comes out of my political work, my community work. Almost all, every single poem practically points to or reflects upon or is a way of getting into or understanding political work. I can't. Well, no, there are some love poems. There are some love poems. Yeah, but other than the love poems about particular relationships or whatever, the body of poetry that I've written is all about political struggle.
Okay. Who are some of your favorite writers and poets?
Sonia Sanchez is my most favorite poet. I love her courage. I love her honesty. I really respect her honesty to talk about whatever, she was feeling and whatever she believed, to put it out there. To really get into her passion and share that passion with her audience, not be afraid or intimidated or whatever, but just to be her whole, full, honest self. Sonia is my most favorite. And then Aimé Césaire, the Papa, I call him Papa Aimé, because, he would have been our grandfather's generation. Yeah. And not quite father, grandfather. He would have, our elder. He would have definitely an elder. I love how, and also I've written a poem for Aimé too. But Aimé is, being a forerunner in Black consciousness poetry, right? Yeah. And wrestling with all the European cultural dominance that he felt as a man who had grown up within the French hegemony, right, within the whole Francophone world, and trying to find himself as an African there. He's so important. His work is so important. And then, of course, Dudley Randall has been so important to me, and I think to many of us here in the Detroit area. And we're so grateful to him for founding Broadside Press and publishing practically every major African-American poet that we know. If Dudley hadn't been prepared to do the work of editing, getting works to the printer, overseeing the whole production of works by Hakeem Madhubuti, Sonia Sanchez, Audre Lorde, Nikki Giovanni, all of those poets probably would not ever have been recognized. But because he published their works, then other major American white publishing companies decided, their works sell. Maybe we better publish them after all. But before that, they weren't interested in any of the Black poets. And without Dudley's work, we might never have known some of these incredible, brilliant poets. So Sonia Sanchez, Aimé Césaire, Dudley Randall, those are some poets I love and I revere. And there are many others, but definitely those three.
Okay. What body of work has had the most effect on you as an educator, activist, poet, and writer?
Wow, that is a good question. And that makes me think. What books, whatever. Well, definitely Frantz Fanon, Wretched of the Earth. What else? Walter Rodney, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. I already said Aimé Césaire, Discourse on Colonialism. What else? Those are some of the three classics that really helped me develop as a political thinker, right?
Okay.
Yeah. I have to think more about that.
Okay.
Well, that's an excellent question, though.
Thank you.
I'll think more about that.
Okay. Okay. What was the spark that ignited your pen?
That ignited my pen. Well, I started writing when I was like 8 or 9 years old. And I guess at that point, at that age, it was just an enjoyment and excitement about words and language, right? And that you could make things. you could create things. You could create poems. You could create little plays. You could write little stories. That was fascinating to me as a youngster. And then I would say in my undergraduate years, as my political consciousness started to develop, then I saw, the possibilities of poetry as a way of expressing those understandings and those insights, right? And I was reading poets like Aimé Césaire and Senghor, a Senegalese poet and statesman. At the same time that I was reading poets who were writing in English and in French, I was reading Black writers in French, etc. So I had the inspiration there. Their poetry was political. Their poetry was about speaking out for our African heritage, about resisting the dominance of the West. So that gave me inspiration, and that gave me encouragement to try to do the same with my poetry as my own consciousness was growing. I think while I was in Paris during that year, there were plastic bombs going off in the city that were being, as a part of the Algerian national liberation struggle. Algerians in Paris were demonstrating in support of what was going on in their home country of Algeria, in North Africa. And I already told you that meeting African students there who had ties to their own liberation struggles at home, putting that with the Algerians, and that was consciousness raising for me. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, all of that tied in with my political development, and then my political consciousness. And then, of course, when something becomes that important a part of your life, that you're thinking about it all the time, you're reading about it all the time, you're talking about it with other people, then obviously it's going to be the subject of your poetry as well. And then coming back home after being in Paris for that year and, dealing with all the travesties that were going on in the South, the 4 little girls being bombed, the 3 civil rights workers being disappeared, and then they turn up, their dead bodies turn up in a dam. These are all atrocities that, that I wrote about, that I was, that I was brokenhearted over and wrote about. So I think that's an answer to your question, Bilal. What lit my pen, what made me write, what inspired me, those kinds of things that inspired me.
What is the enduring creed of an educator?
Enduring creed of an educator. Well, I'll tell you what's important, what has been important to me as, as an educator. I don't know if I could call it a creed or whatever, but I've seen myself as as a bridge between the university or academic learning or education, a bridge between the institutions of education and my own community as an African woman. And most of my teaching experience, though I did teach, I have taught at the grade level and junior high. I've taught at elementary, junior high, high school. I've taught at all levels. Especially taught at the K through 12 level in the African independent schools that we organized here in Detroit. But as a professional, it was 50 years at university level teaching. And there, I'm really concerned that a student find a level of confidence in his or her own capacity to analyze, to understand the world, and then to be able to comment upon it and to engage with other people about what he is experiencing and how he feels and what he thinks about what is going on in that world. So and particularly with African American students, I have wanted them to understand that the university is a navigable world. It's not, they didn't need to be afraid of it or alienated by it. It was a place where they could develop their own capacity for intellectual work and for analysis. Okay? And so my role as an educator was to help move them to that point where they felt a sense of confidence in their own ability to think through problems, come up with solutions, discuss things, to be articulate about their own ideas, and to be able to share them in a way that other people could understand and really engage in dialogue. So for me, that's what an educator is supposed to do, is to help students find that their own power to deal with ideas and to move through the world in a way that's fulfilling and satisfactory to them. And also to be able to resist what is oppressive in that world, to find the language of resistance, to find the acts of resistance. That's what I think an educator is supposed to do, especially an African educator, because we are dealing with oppression in so many different forms. And, one of the most cruel weapons used by the Western world is to try to intimidate us intellectually and to convince us of our inability to think, to analyze, etc. So helping students find that confidence for themselves. That's the role of the educator.
Wow. What does music mean to you, and who and what are some of your favorite genres and artists?
I love gospel and Sister Ree, obviously, but I love gospel in general. I really value the music of the church that I was allowed to become familiar with as a child, growing up in Tampa and going to New Salem Baptist Church, the church of my grandmother and my mom and my aunts. Gospel, jazz, Abdullah Ibrahim, the South African pianist, is my most favorite jazz artist. Before he converted, he went by Dollar Brand, so you may know him by that name, Abdullah Ibrahim. Nina Simone, Keith Jarrett. I like Keith Jarrett's sort of the spirituality of his music. I enjoy some classical music. I like the music of Beethoven. I like the music of Mozart. I like piano sonatas of both Beethoven and Mozart. What else? Among the gospel artists, I like Tremaine Hawkins. I like Reverend James Cleveland. I enjoy, what's the brother who has Jamaican roots? His name is not going to come to me now because I need to remember it, right? Very popular gospel singer right now. Okay, that's something of an answer.
What is
I didn't tell you I like reggae, and of course I adore and love Brother Bob Marley. I didn't mention that.
Yes.
Of course, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, and Tosh as well, Peter Tosh.
Yeah.
That's some folks.
Okay. That's a great array of people. Being a writer and a poet and coming from the viewpoint that you have and what you've experienced and studied and read of others, what do you think is the duty of a poet overall? Let me just say, first of all, that I think that poets are recipients of a gift, from spirit. Okay. All poets don't think of themselves that way, right? Yeah.
But I just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
That the way I think of myself as a poet, that that really the gift. It is a gift.
Yes.
And I am being allowed to channel an experience.
Yes.
And so I hope and pray always that product that whatever comes is uplifting, that it's an avenue of inspiration for people, to keep their spirits up.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe even offer some direction in terms of how to continue surviving.
Yeah.
And so it's not my intelligence that is doing that. These are gifts that are coming to me from somewhere else.
Indeed.
So that's the role of the poet, to craft, cultivate the music of poetry in a way that it speaks to people's hearts, speaks to people's spirits, and keeps them going. That's the role of the poet, and I know that is not the way many people think about the role of the poet. So the poet as someone very much embedded in a community, belonging to a community, identifying with her people, not trying to write for everybody in the world, but trying to write out of the experience where she's been placed, And then if other people who don't share that particular placement find the work valuable, that's good too, that's all right too. But definitely writing in service to her own people.
Okay. Two-part question here. How has your spirituality influenced your craft, and what is your vision of freedom for humanity?
Well, you certainly didn't think of any little small questions, did you?
I know you was a heavy hitter, so I had to come. You was a heavy hitter, so I had to come with some heavy hitting
This
You know,
is something. This is Bilal, I'm telling you. So you're making me stretch to answer these questions, I'm telling you. So, but my own spirituality, well, it started in the church, that New Salem Baptist Church I told you about, right? Sunday school, hearing the songs of the church every Sunday, etc. That's where the recognition of spirit started, right? That's where it started, because you could feel it in the church.
Yes, ma'am.
You could feel it in the music. You could feel it in the elders and in the love that people shared.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's where it started for me, and continued to be someone who attended church. But as I went to university, I read about other religions, and for about 2 years, I actually would go from the Berkeley campus, where I was studying, over to San Francisco to learn meditation from a Buddhist priest, right? So I did have that discipline for a couple of years of sitting meditation, and that helped me grow in terms of spiritual discipline. And of course, reading about Buddhism, reading about Islam, having friends who were practicing other religions and sharing with them, hearing from them, what their religion meant to them. And at some point I started to realize that all of the religions are simply different paths to the same spiritual enlightenment, or that we're seeking,
Indeed.
That it's all about trying to help us find our way to our higher consciousness, and then being able to accept, everybody, no matter what religion they were practicing, to be able to say yes, to affirm that with them and for them. What else can I say about it? And yeah, having had certain experiences that helped me understand that we are all linked in this, an unending relationship that the Creator has made. And I stumbled upon a way of talking about that and calling it the lace of love. The lace of love. And I was trying to talk about, this fabric, this web, this whatever, right? That we're all a part of, and that most of the time we forget, right? We fall into thinking that we are individuals.
Right.
That we're just kind of walking around here as solo whatevers. And, how sad that we fall back into that, because seeing ourselves as part of that weave, part of that unending weave, that fabric of life, of the earth, the natural world, everything, all energies, right? Knowing that we are in that mix, right? Each one of us. And so all kinds of connections are possible, and whether we experience them or not, we are connected. So that's how I see my own spirituality, Bilal.
Okay. What is your freedom for humanity? What is your vision of freedom for humanity?
Well, I think just to be able to live a life with dignity, with a sense that you are respected as a human being, to have whatever resources are necessary to allow you to live in health, to produce a family, to love a family, to cultivate a family, to see both the legacy that you've been handed from the generation before you, and hopefully see the way in which you extend that. I think that's freedom. To be able to live a life where the law or lawlessness doesn't impinge on you in ways that are destructive and violent and hurtful, that, that make you fear for yourself and for your children. A life that has none of that, right? A life that...
That's beautiful.
And also a life in which you can live that connection that I was trying to describe, with the earth, with the trees, with the water, with
yes,
the,
yes,
where you understand you are connected, right?
Yes.
That's what I see. That's
that's beautiful.
Questions are so hard, though, Bilal.
No, but you answering these. This is what I wanted to draw out of you, the answers of the cosmic universe.
Well, you are really pulling. You are pulling. Oh my goodness, because I never tried to answer such questions before. I know, when I've been in demonstrations about this cause or the other, I knew, we need to stop this, that, or the other. But ultimately, what does it mean to be free? To be able to sense yourself in your relationship to the earth, not be afraid that someone can wrongfully intimidate, abuse, imprison you, or whatever. All of that is part of freedom, and being able to be confident that you don't have to live in fear of any of those things. You don't have to live in fear of lack of food or lack of housing, lack of access to the resources you need, or live without access to education or to art or to any of those things that make life beautiful. That's what freedom is about.
Wonderful. That sounds awesome. How important is it to enlighten the minds of children and youth with the written and spoken word?
Absolutely important. One of the most important things we can do in life. I read in one of Haki's books, where he puts a lot of emphasis on introducing the beauty of art to children, what benefits that can have. Absolutely one of the most important things we can do. So one of the most important things to do is to be involved with, opening up our children's experiences to art of all kinds, the written word, painting, architecture, whatever, all of those things, because you never know. But definitely the minute you see any hint of a particular gift, definitely to be on it and to help that child explore it further and develop whatever skills are related to that, And so, as we as parents or as elders in the community should, watch closely to see the light that we see in the child. What is this child really curious about? What do they want to do? What do they enjoy? Because in that way, they're telling us, what their gifts may be, and then we'll know how to help them develop.
Indeed. Having said that, as an elder, do you see a global council of elders made up from the diaspora forming in the future free from colonialism and oppression?
That would be a wonderful dream. I haven't seen it. It hasn't come to my mind as a possibility, but it would be wonderful if such a thing could emerge. Do you see that as a possibility, Bilal?
I've had visions, and I've had visions of resolution that were grand, and this is why I'm one of the main reasons why I'm doing this project as a sort of infinity project, because I wanted to capture those who are here now, laying the groundwork for what I've seen of the visions of the future, and to archive those pioneers that have built the foundation of the cosmos and its unifying principles all across the realms.
Well, I think, Bilal, that is your gift of vision, the visions and the prophecy. And I would love to believe that will be evolving, that such a council would be evolving, right? That would be wonderful. Maybe our efforts, say, on the local level, because, there is a Detroit Council of Elders, right?
Yeah.
The many of us have passed on, have made our transitions. It's kind of just a few of us left now.
Yeah.
And there is a National Council of Elders of men and women who've been involved in various aspects of the freedom movement here in the United States.
Okay.
But so the vision that you have is, what has been done sort of blown to the universal level. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful vision. And I will hold on to that as a possibility. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think Detroit is so key to the future of the diaspora? So having said all that,
I think African people in this city have evolved to a very high level. Experiences of, this town, this city, the historical experiences, the experience of all of the men and women, elders, grandparents, uncles, aunts who worked in the plants, and the kind of sophistication they gained as laborers to understand, the value of their work and how their work made it possible for this immense wealth to be accumulated, and enjoyed by others, but not by the people who actually created. I think Detroit workers have just an extraordinary level of sophistication about labor and the significance of labor. We have the fact that even during the period of slavery, free Africans here in the city of Detroit organized themselves to the extent that they were able to receive, harbor, and help enslaved Africans escape. And at the same time, they were building the institutions that they needed for themselves, independent institutions, churches, schools, etc., for their children. That, all of that, all those layers of Black self-determination, Black independent thought, Black self-sufficiency, that's all in the history of this city. And whether we think about it consciously or not all the time, it's there in the energy of this place. And then, in the contemporary efforts, particularly in the arts, Detroit has been so important. Some writers have referred to it as a mecca in the period of the 60s and 70s, the Black consciousness and Black power era. There was so much development in the area of the arts, in theater, in poetry, publishing, music, the visual arts. By the way, there is going to be a really important exhibit, Bilal, of the work of the artists of the Black consciousness period. It's going to be at Wayne State beginning November 4th.
Okay.
All of the wonderful, brilliant artists of that period, including Harold Neal, their works are going to be on display. John Anye Lockhart, some of his work will be there. Ali McGee, Shirley Woodson, all of these artists who started working and gained recognition in the 60s and 70s, and some of them are still here alive and with us. But anyway, so I was talking about how all of that energy of production, artistic production, was going on. Ron Milner writing all the plays, becoming one of the most prolific playwrights for stage, for television, or whatever. So Detroit has all of that mix of political understanding, artistic production, all of that. And, young artists in the city are heirs of that, even if they don't know about it, right?
Right.
So the city is very important in that way, and hopefully we'll be able to continue to provide some leadership in some of those areas. Well, we have people like Malik Yakini providing leadership in urban farming. So much important work is done. That's a very important frontier of the future.
Yes.
That Black folks will be able to have food security that they ensure for themselves,
yes,
right?
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So all of that is going on here in the city of Detroit. And that's why it's one of the most important cities.
Yes, ma'am. In an ideal world of union, can there be an equal balance to the true forms of the patriarchal and the matriarchal schools of thought?
I believe so. I continue to be hopeful. When you raise that question, I think of relationships between us women and our men and how fraught they have been, how difficult they have been, how much we struggle, to maintain them and to carry them on. But I remain hopeful, Bilal. We're carrying with us so much of that period of enslavement,
yes.
When they did such horrendous and awful things to us.
Yes.
That broke our spirit,
tried to break our spirit.
Right. And we're still trying to overcome from all of that, So, yes, that is the ideal that I hope for and aspire to, is that there can be that balance. But I have to just say I continue to hope and aspire to that, because we still have so much work to do.
Yes, ma'am.
In that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I have a couple more questions. Let me ask this one. I guess I'll combine these two because they go together. Okay, as divine celestial beings experiencing humanity, how do we tap into Akasha and read the destiny of man? And if you were able to speak to generations past, present, and future simultaneously across the realms, what message would you have for them?
I would say greetings. So happy to be able to be in touch with you. Thank you for the struggles you went through. Thank you for advancing us spiritually and as human beings. I would ask for those who are, before me, I would ask, please continue to offer me guidance. Please help me be still enough to hear the guidance or see the guidance when it comes. I guess I would ask for help in strengthening the consciousness with the world of divine, the world of spirit. Tell me your question again. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, you did. You did. Do you have a favorite instrument?
I love cello. If I were a musician, if I could be a musician, it would be the cello that I would try to play, that I would want to learn to play. I love the sort of density of the music that comes from it, the way it seems to throb and to reflect something very deep in the human spirit. Of course, I love drums. What else? The bass and guitar. These are all string instruments, and I think I love the vibration and the energy that comes from those instruments.
Okay. Do you have anything near you that you could bless us with a gift of your poetry?
Okay, let's see. Do I have them in this folder? It would be so wonderful if I did. looking for the one for Sonia. Please. Yes. Oh, it is. Okay.
Wonderful.
Okay. So, yes, I'm going to read you the one for Sonia and the one for Aimee, since I talked about them as being, two of my most influential or favorite poets.
Okay.
Okay.
You gonna read one of yours too?
And then, well, they're all mine.
Oh, okay. These are poems you wrote about them.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Wonderful.
Okay. So this one for Sonia, there's a documentary made about Sonia's life called Bad Sonia.
Yeah, I saw that. That was awesome.
It was awesome, right?
Yes, it was.
And I remember that there was this whole section about why she was alone and why she didn't have a partner, which is relevant to that question you asked me about, male, female, and, will we ever find that balance or whatever. And I remember that Haki said, maybe the brothers were just not strong enough to be there for Sonia, right? I don't know if you remember that section of the film, but anyway.
Yeah, I gotta go back and watch that again because I might have missed that part.
So this poem is entitled "Who is Brave Enough?" for Sonia Sanchez. Your heart, there, palpitating on the page, nothing hidden. Your desire, red, ripe, soft, like stewed tomatoes in a brown bowl, nothing hidden. Your catapults towards truth and unapologetically awkward landings, nothing hidden. Diminutive, spunky challenger of empire, a piston of moral stamina, hurricane and sudden peace, courage persistent like a silver river. Who is brave enough to be your partner?
Wow.
That's for Sonia.
Wow. That is phenomenal.
Okay. And let's see, where is the one for Aimee? I just had it in my hand. What did I do with it? Oh, here. Oh, I'm so glad I was able to find this. So, the poem is entitled Les Yeux Brillants, which translates shining eyes, for Aimé Césaire. If you ever see a picture of Aimé, I'll just tell you this, you'll see how his eyes are so intense and so shining, right? And I was always impressed by that in his photographs. That's why this title, Les Yeux Brillants. Your eyes emit an ethereal light. You are seeing a place of marvels, of luminous delights. There, we Africans dance and float, embraced in the yellow air of freedom. At peace, we remember how to smile, as your eyes are smiling now. In your poet's trance, you visited this golden dispensation long ago, but you return to teach us children to believe in it, to trust our inheritance. You let us see it in your eyes.
Wow. Wonderful.
So, it's talking about him as being one of those forerunners of, Black consciousness and everything, and how confident he was, and how he could see that. And let's see, I guess I could share a recent one I've written, Bilal,
Sure.
to end on a high note.
Okay.
It's called, I've written a couple about, the Black Lives Matter and Brianna and all of, But I want to read this one, which is more spiritual, and let us end at another place, okay?
Okay.
So it's called sacraments, and you know what the sacraments are. Those items, treasures, parts of rituals that are important to us or that are symbols of spiritual reality, right?
Yes.
Okay, sacraments. They say our old uncles and aunties would fashion their survival medicines, roots and herbs, poems and songs, circle dances, trying to touch the spirit for sustenance. Geniuses they were in the arts of endurance, resilience, and hope. Thus daily they cultivated the cotton, cane, tobacco, rice, whatever crop, withstood the beatings and abuse, looked forward to collards and cornbread, the communion meal of daily resurrection, to the cool darkness of evening and the relief of dreams. But there would come a day when all such knowledges no longer served. Home hung so heavy on their hearts, so bulging, so full and bursting, they had only to raise their arms and they were aloft, levitated by the longing for Africa and freedom. And there they would hang for a moment, African saints, dissolving into air and sunlight. Cheering, they would whisper as they ascended, "Today I flying back home. You gonna be all right. I see after you." Memories remained of their gray, wiry beards, their sunburnt, overworked hands and arms, their indigo-stained fingers and palms, their squinting eyes so tortured by the sun, their threadbare trousers and tissue-thin faded skirts, the smell of tobacco in their shirts. Memories of how to fix broken tools, cure tumors, summon joy in feasts and festivity, mend broken hearts, how to wait, how to be patient, how to revive, how to love, how to laugh, how to engender justice, how to attain peace. Those risen saints left us chewing these holy sacraments of endurance. Sacraments of endurance. They guide us from the place they call glory. They keep us on the righteous path till the world we call freedom someday will come.
Wow. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
They cannot silence the drums, for their thunder rolls in the heavens forever, and the ancestors speak infinity in our beings. So we forever dare to dream, with vision and action, to manifest new realities.